Now, Cardi B, you're wrong for this one, Cardi B, okay? You're definitely wrong for this one. Now, Cardi B, been out a while since we last talked about Cardi B. The last time we spoke about her, she was beefing with a YouTuber who she ended up suing for defamation. This is something I actually covered, but she did win that case, and in the end, the YouTuber in question had to pay a hefty fee for some of the claims they made. Now, that aside, let's talk about the topic at hand. So this story actually starts with a very big one that you probably heard all about. And I actually want to use this opportunity to talk a little bit about that and some other things related to it. But I'm talking about the Titanic submersible vessel that ended up going missing. I'm sure you've heard all about it, okay? It's been literally everywhere. And you know what? I'm actually happy that I can speak on it with you today. So let's go over that first. About a week ago, the story regarding a submersible vessel that went missing hit the headlines. The vessel in question had 5 different people on board: Hamish Harding, Shahzada Dawood, his son Suleiman Dawood, Paul Henry Nargolay, and Stockton Rush. OceanGate, which is a private company that was owned by one of the people on board, organizes these expeditions where you get the chance to view the famous Titanic wreckage from this little thing right here. It's called the Titan, and it's the only crewed submersible in the world. It can take up to 5 people as deep as 13,000 feet, which equals to 4,000 meters below the surface of the ocean. The company was started in 2009 by Stockton Rush and one of his business partners, and they had taken people on tours of the Titanic since 2021. The price point for one of these trips, $250,000. These trips that the Titan was taking were actually considered dangerous in the submersible craft industry, so much to the point that the leaders in the field were recommending against these trips with this particular vessel. It was a catastrophe waiting to happen, according to experts. There were multiple letters and multiple recommendations calling for an audit and evaluation of this submarine to determine whether or not it was suitable for the job. OceanGate, however, didn't want to listen and even refused, alleging that the external scrutiny process was going to be too long and would eventually delay the deadlines, and that's not good for business. Safety is just pure waste, he said on an interview from last year. I mean, if you want to be safe, don't get out of bed, don't get in your car, don't do anything. At some point, you're going to take some risk, and it really is a risk/reward question. I think I can do this as safely by breaking the rules, he affirmed. This level of blind conviction was the biggest mistake of them all. It was what eventually led to the demise of everybody on board. On Sunday, June 18, the submersible went on one of these expeditions and unfortunately ended up going missing. The ship ended up losing all contact with the outside world. The vessel was lost in an area over 900 miles east of Cape Cod, which is located in the North Atlantic, and it was nowhere to be found. There were 5 people inside, and no one even knew if they were even alive. The search for the submersible started immediately, and there was a countdown the search team was fighting against. There was only a 96-hour supply of oxygen for everybody on board. Unfortunately, they couldn't beat the clock because the vessel ended up imploding, i.e. all 5 passengers ended up dying 13,000 feet underwater. And that only happened because of the intense water pressure. They all died in an instant and didn't stand a chance because that vessel was not fit to be underwater in the first place. The company was warned multiple times by several experts, but denied all outside opinions that actually mattered and foolishly stuck to their guns, most likely because it is a very profitable business. $250,000 a pop for one of those trips, that's a lot of money. But obviously, whatever the reason was, it just wasn't worth it. 5 people ended up losing their life, one of them being a 19-year-old who only went on the submersible to please his father. So sad. Now, the response on social media to this story, people are letting the jokes fly, making memes, that kind of thing. And why is that? Well, because it involved a bunch of rich people. 2 of the men who died in the submersible were billionaires. And you know how they say eat the rich? Well, the rich did get ate. Any compassion I have in this story for me strictly goes towards the young man who was only 19 years old. Like I said earlier, he only went on his trip to please his father, according to the reports, and this is sad, but Suleiman was apparently terrified before this trip, and he only followed through with it to make his father happy. So literally him wanting to please his father is what got this young man killed, which is very sad. And if you ask me, I think his father should have known better. I mean, he was a billionaire. You got to be smart to become a billionaire. In that case, how could you not have known that this was a very dangerous expedition that you were going on? From what I read, by the way, they apparently signed liability waivers, so they were well aware of the risks. The consequences were obviously permanent. since ain't no coming back from death. Although I do recognize that it was very foolish for them to follow through with this particular trip. In no way, shape, or form do I think anybody should make light of this situation. At the end of the day, this does affect entire communities and entire families. These people had families who were expecting them to come home when it's all said and done. I look at it and I say, damn, what if that was my family? How would I want people to react? Based on that answer is how personally I'll approach it. Like I said though, they knew what they were getting into. I mean, one look at this thing, even Stevie Wonder could see that this shit does not look fit to handle that kind of pressure. You know, one big reason why I don't feel that much inside as I'm talking about the story? Well, first of all, we've clarified that they knew how dangerous this expedition was. But the biggest reason, well, take a look at this story right here. Just the other day, a boat with upwards of 750 people sank in the middle of the ocean. And this is probably the first time a lot of y'all are hearing about this. Take a guess why that is. Well, because it was a migrant boat wreck. These weren't a bunch of wealthy people. They didn't have billions. As a matter of fact, most of them had nothing to their names. They weren't on a fancy expedition. They were on that boat because they were trying to escape the harsh conditions of their home countries for the potential of living a better life. And so because they were migrants, nobody cares. The media can sensationalize the story and make a bunch of money from it, and so they don't cover it. Just a little bit about the story while we're at it. The boat was traveling from Libya en route to Italy when it capsized, meaning it turned upside down in the water. Panic then ensued. People drowned, and there's that. According to government officials, this is one of the worst tragedies of all time that's happened in the Mediterranean Sea. Merely 104 people have been rescued as of right now. 81 bodies have been recovered, and the rest are nowhere to be found. By the way, there are around 100 children on this boat, guys. 100. Did you hear what I said? 100 children on this boat. So this is when I feel something. In contrast to the submersible, there's barely any media coverage for this, which is sad, but that just goes to show how much mainstream media controls the narrative. They'll cover something over and over again, make us care about it, not because they care, but because there's money to be made. There's not a lot of that monetary incentive here, and so the first time a lot of you guys are hearing about it is from me. Now that aside, moving on to the next part of the video. By the way, if you made it this far, drop a like for your boy because I'm clearly entertaining you. Come on now, don't be stingy. There we go. There we go. That was easy, right? Thank you. I appreciate you. Now as for the Cardi B part of the video, okay, let's talk a little bit about that. So the story starts with this guy right here. His name is Brian, and he's the stepson of one of the people who died on board. Hamish Harding. He was a billionaire as well. Cardi B ended up getting into it with this guy on social media after he posted that he went to a Blink 182 concert during the search. Yes, I went to a Blink 182 concert last night. What am I supposed to do? Sit at home and watch the news? Not sorry. This band has helped me through hard times since 1998, he said. So Brian posted this on his Instagram, and it caught the attention of not only the internet, but Cardi B herself, who decided to share some of her thoughts on this.
Okay, so one of the billionaires that's missing on the water from that submarine shit, one of the billionaires, their stepson, is at a concert, right? At a Blink 182 concert. And people is like, well, what is he supposed to do? Be sad at the house? Is he supposed to go look for himself? Yes. You're supposed to be at the house sad. You're supposed to be crying for me. You're supposed to be right next to the phone waiting to hear any updates about me. You're supposed to be counseling your mom and shit. Like, isn't it sad that you a whole fucking billionaire and nobody gives a fuck about you? Like you missing and motherfuckers is ready to shake dicks at concert. That's crazy. I'd rather be broke. I'd rather be broke than and poor, but knowing that I'm loved.
So that was the video. He ended up responding to her on Twitter after seeing this video by saying this: "What a piece of trashy celebrity. Cardi B trying to get clout off me and my family suffering. I went to a Blink 182 concert for coping rather than sitting at home and watching the news. Shame on you, Cardi. Get some class," he said. Cardi B then came back and said this: "The point was the whole world is praying for these people in the submarine, and this man's son is online shaking dicks for little girls off OnlyFans and going to Blink 182 concerts. You was looking for clout all along. Nobody knew who you were until you said that was your stepdad. This is why people hate you, spoiled brat billionaires. Y'all so desensitized." By the way, just to mention what Cardi B said about OnlyFans. On top of attending the Blink concert, this man was on Twitter thirsting over some OnlyFans girls. I guess maybe that was his way of coping, right? Now, just hitting on some of the things Cardi B said. "You supposed to be at the house sad. You supposed to be crying for me," she said. "You supposed to be right next to the phone waiting to hear any updates about me. You're supposed to be consoling your mom and shit." Now, this is my take on what Cardi B said, right? Everything she's saying is coming from from what she would have done and how she would have reacted, which is the issue here. How I look at things is this: the world doesn't know the relationship this guy had with his stepfather. For all we know, he could have been an asshole to him. He could have been abusive. Not saying that's what it was. I'm just saying you never know. With that in mind, and with the fact that you don't know the relationship he had with his stepfather, how can you then try to tell him how he should be reacting? Don't make sense to me. This is how I think, right? In times of chaos, everybody reacts differently. How one person copes won't be similar to how the next person copes. And that's the case because human beings are inherently different. Human beings deal with their problems, adversities, and losses in different ways because we are intrinsically different. You should never have any kind of expectations on how another person should react to something that hits so close to home. Because in times of chaos, everybody has their own ways of dealing with said challenges and said losses. It wouldn't really be no different from somebody trying to tell Cardi B how to deal with the passing of Takeoff, right? Because Cardi B is basing her opinion really on nothing because she is not this man. And she doesn't know the relationship he had with his stepfather. It actually takes a certain level of detachment to be able to think on this level, because a lot of times, I've been there myself, we as human beings, we do this thing called projecting. You see something, a person, a situation, a story even, and based on your view, your experiences and your life, you have a certain opinion that's not necessarily in line with reality, but we think it is because we're in this case projecting our own feelings and emotions onto whatever it is that we're looking at. Cardi B in this case looked at it as, if I was in your shoes, this is how I would react, completely disregarding the fact that she is not this guy. And with you not being the person who's in the situation you're so strongly judging, we can now see that you don't know how to mentally put yourself in other people's position, because inherently we're all different as people and we all respond to any given situation, especially when you're faced with the potential of losing somebody that you love, in different ways from the next person. So it's never what you would do in this situation, it's what they are currently doing in this situation, because that's the only thing that's relevant. What I would do is hold zero weight, because you're not them. I don't believe you could ever tell somebody how to react. Now you could perhaps suggest and, be a little inquisitive, like you should be at home crying, not going to that Blink-182 concert. But if you're not having this response that I'm expecting you to have, perhaps there's more to the story and perhaps there's more to the person who I'm so strongly judging. It all comes down to not projecting, which is really hard because in this life, the only thing you know is yourself. I could never predict how you would react in any given situation, just like how you could never predict how I would react in any given situation. And when it comes to traumatic life events like the potential loss or the loss of someone who's close to you, that will bring out a different side in everybody. Some of us start reaching for the ganja. Light that shit up. Can relate to that. Some of us start reaching for the bottle. I can't relate to that. Pina colada is my shit though. Some of us start exercising excessively. Some of us unintentionally start self-sabotaging in different ways. Or sometimes some of us don't react at all, which that could be viewed as a good thing. But my philosophy is, if you don't deal with the mental distress of whatever it is that you're going through right now, you're eventually gonna have to face it later at some point. No kissing. Ask me how I know. I've been there, I've done that. Trust and believe that. The point is, we all cope in different ways, and for this man, obviously thirsting over OnlyFans chicks is one of them. He's a horn dog. On the real though, I think Cardi B completely missed the mark on this, and I was surprised to see so many people agreeing with her, because personally, I don't understand the logic of expecting people to react in one way. There's no one size fits all, and that's the beauty of being a human. You're not supposed to act, be, or react in one specific way. You're supposed to deal with things the way you deal with things, because that's the only way you can deal with things. Anyway, like the video before you leave, okay? Can you do me that one favor, please? Like it. Also, are you subscribed? Looks like you weren't, okay? I'm happy that you're jumping on the train now, but you're late as shit. Anyway, any thoughts on this topic? Aside from what Cardi B said, do you guys have any thoughts on this whole Titanic submersible story? Happy that I could cover it, and I'm happy that you're willing to listen to me all the way to the end. Any thoughts on a, really sad boat wreck that happened? That broke my heart to see that. That's really sad. Anyway, I appreciate you for listening, and I appreciate you for being here, okay? You have a blessed day, enjoy yourself, and we'll speak again very soon. I'm out. Peace. You gotta be okay when not being okay. Some days you're gonna wake up, you gonna wanna escape. Don't you follow through on that.